So here we are in the final part of our Formula 1 drawing, sketching, rendering, coloring video. And the previous one went a little bit long, so I want to keep this one shorter. So I really just focused on the parts that I think I want to share, and I just cut in between them. So this video is all about coloring or rendering. And I have this book and I'm still learning rendering. So this is not an in-depth what to do. This is just how I approach rendering in my way. Because yeah, as I said, I'm not that good with colors. I just try to get by, so you can maybe catch some of the tricks that I do to get by, so you can get by as well. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy the video and let's get started. Okay, so here is our Ferrari lines from the last time when we drew it. And what I'm going to do now is create a new layer under my lines right there. And what Procreate can do is turn a layer into reference. So which means if we go to this line, it is going to reference if we go to this layer, it is going to reference the layer above it. So I'm going to switch to a red color and just bring it here. And you can increase or decrease the threshold. And you don't want to go outside of it. But you can, like this, relatively quickly fill up the car. Now, the problem is, where you have the lines, you have these little leftover white areas. So that's why many times, even though this is an option, I still stick with the selection tool, just zoom in, and then just start nicely selecting the whole area. And it's up to you if you want to do this and make your selections like this. Let me also just close it here so I can show you what I'm talking about. And then you can just drop in the color here. Well, technically I'm going to turn off reference for a second. And when you're bringing the color there, and then select the layer and bring in the color there, and everything is nicely colored there. Other than this white area which was left over from the previous fill. So what you can do is either do the reference thing and then just correct these areas. So you'll have to come in and paint these in, or you just create your new layers and then you just take the selection tool and be patient and do this whole thing. I prefer this one, but it's up to you which one you like to do. Okay, now the whole car is selected. We are on the correct layer and we're just gonna drag this down. And as you can see, if I take away the lines, we have a nice filled up shape. I'm gonna erase the old one. And now you can do separate selections for the tires, for separate parts of the car if you want to or if you need to. So let me just show you one and then we're gonna cut to the next part. So what I like to do is just select on the outside, and then just nicely, patiently go around the wheel and close the selection. I don't care here because what I can do, I just create a new layer, I turn it into a clipping mask, and then I can, I think the wheels are going to be some sort of brown, so I'll just fill it with brown. And because it's a clipping mask, it is not touching anywhere outside of our main selection. So I'm going to do this for all the tires now. All right, the wheels are separated, and now what we can do, let me bring back my reference image a little bit. There we go. So what we can do is sort of separate all the technical elements. And this is not a good reference image because you can't see it, but all these technical parts here, this here, and this area here in the back, I want to take them apart, and maybe also the seat in there. So the next thing which we're doing is doing the same selection process, nicely, meticulously going in here and selecting all these parts. And the good thing is I don't even have to go in that meticulously, because what I can do is create a layer in between my tires and my car, just a new layer that automatically becomes a clipping mask. And now I'll just select a bluish gray and just throw it in there. And with that, I'll do the rest as well, just like this. So as you can see, I also added some whites with the same methodology, and I named my layers. Now, what we can do is actually go and add a reference image that I took earlier. And why I like this is, aside from the shades in red, so we have, let me draw over this. So, there we go. So we have a shade of red here. then a different shade of red here, and here we have the blue of the sky coming in and playing along with it as well. And for the white, we also have these really nice shades with a little bit of reflection of the red here, the darker shadow there, and also just the bright white there. So I'm going to use this as a little bit of reference, but also just like totally cheating and just copying parts of the color from there. So I'll come down to my flats layer. I'm gonna take just this color here and throw it over all of this. So this is going to be my base, and then I'm going to establish my shadow and my light areas. I'm going to pick a shadow color from here, let's say this one, and now I'll take a brush, let's say that one. I'm going to make a new layer, call this shadows, and then start painting. You can make your layer a bit bigger. So here you can do a mix of whatever you want. You can nicely brush it in. You can also go in and do selections. So what I like to do is make a selection, and in my head I already know what I want to do. So I know that this is going to be darker and then it fades out, which means I'm going to switch to an airbrush. Oh, don't need to push it twice. It doesn't need to be so big. Can be slightly smaller, and oh, what happened to my selection? There we go. And then just slowly, you don't want to go too crazy at once. You can make your airbrush a bit smaller as well, and then look at it there, and it looks pretty nice. Deselect it. You can do the same thing here, and here, like here, we have a nice rounded area. So for that, I am going to come in here and just do a rounded selection. And what I'm also going to do is feather it a bit. So right now the selection is very sharp. I'm gonna, as you can see, this thing is growing here. They shouldn't have touched it. I'm gonna only give like 2% of feathering, then back to my airbrush, make it a bit bigger, and then just bring a bit of it here. I don't want too much in the back, we can be a bit stronger, but I want it fading out as I go towards the front. Now, so you don't want it to be super dark. What might help, if you do so, this is also for me because I'm just not that good at rendering, is if I take harder brush and I try to make a cube here. So I know that these are my three colors and I can pick straight from there. Now I can come back here. I'm still going to have some shadow areas left. So let me take a brush that is a bit more fitting. And I'm gonna do a couple of those shadow areas. Okay, now the opposite. Let's make a new layer. Rename light. And I'm not sure about this color yet. I might step away from it, but we will see. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go to my selection method and just make bigger selections. And I don't like what I did there, so I'm just gonna do it a little bit more like that. And then I'm gonna feather it up to 4 in this case. Let's see. I think 4 should be fine. And then my airbrush, there we go. And I'm going a little bit stronger in the center, and then I fade away. Ooh, I fade away on the sides. So the light is falling from there. Now here we obviously will have to have some light as well. So we're gonna do the selection again. Here you have to sort of follow the shape. And yeah, if you're like me and you're not that good with lighting, you will have to make some stuff up and hope for the best. Well, you don't really have to make stuff up. Let me switch to my reference images. Let me see if we have something. Oh no, this is not my reference. Here they are. So what do I have in here? This one. Oh, actually, so as you can see here, there is a little bit of irregularities because it has this intake things, and we don't really have that on the other one. So on this one, you don't really see those irregularities that much. It's a smoother shape. So when we come back here, I can, oh, that's where I am, okay. So I'll just continue here, and I know that somewhere here along this area, it will turn into this. You can still bring in a little bit of irregularity, and the feather I'm gonna keep very low now, only on 1. Back to my brush, let's see how big it is. Something like that. And now you can make it smaller and make it brighter in the middle, because that's, or not necessarily the middle, but a little bit to the side, because the light is coming from this side, something like that. That should look okay, I hope. Yeah, and then of course we will come in with even more brightness there. Here we have sort of a transition. Light hits it harder here than it fades away, so it's up to us to bring a bit more light in there and then slowly fade away as we get away from there. So what I was talking about with this image, I really like this reflection of this sky, which is purplish. So I want to make sure to bring some of that into my rendering as well. So this is not really purple, this is blue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort of take a blue with a little bit of purple in it, why not? Just a bit. And try to adjust it there. For that we need a new layer, which I have. And what you can do is also just paint over. Oh, it's a bit too small, let me make it slightly bigger. So we'll paint over it a little bit. And then we can also just erase the parts that we know for sure that we don't need. Oh yeah, I have the wrong eraser. There we go. So that definitely is not blue. And then I can bring in this area. I don't think should have any blue in it. And maybe here as well. We can take a bit away from it. Like, you can also play around, but just be aware that it might not work out as you wish it would. You can, if it's too strong, which in which case for me is, you can also bring down the opacity a bit. See how that works. I think it works better. Okay, so we're going to continue adding some more darks here. I feel I don't have enough on that side. So as I said, if you add a little bit of a white light to your cutting lines, in reality these are not there or barely visible, but it will just make your visual look a bit better. And I like to tap the white a little bit and just bring it away. Just these little highlight effects. Let me take this image away. We can do that on the other side as well. Just touch it here and there, and the same here. So it makes the whole car pop a little bit more, and it looks quite a bit nicer. Actually, I am going to merge all of this down now. Merge down, merge down, merge down. I think I just rename this shading. And then I have all my colors there. There we go. And I still have my flats just in case I want to change something. Now I can go to my tires, new layer. Well, actually don't even need a new layer. You can just work straight on the tires. Just make sure to lock the layer. I tend to lock all my layers at one point, especially if I want to work on them. What we could do is just steal the tire color from here, which would make sense. So I'm going to take this in-between color and just drop it on my tires. And it looks much better than the brown. Well, at least it's more fitting. And now I can take the darker color here and make sort of like a selection like I had it there. Like you could see it there, not that I had it there. Something like this. And then here as well, coming in up until there and there. And then I'm gonna feather it to about 4 as well. Let's see what that looks like. It's big enough. Now we can come in from here and coming from that side as well. Actually, I can be a bit gentler there. And then just go around just like that. Deselect looks okay-ish. I feel it's a little bit too dark here on the upper area, but we can fix that. Like this. I'm going to leave this sharp, just take this color and go over it a bit. Now this on the camera, this looks probably just super dark, but hopefully the recording on the iPad works as well, so I can combine the two for you guys. So here's when it becomes fun, because you can do a little bit of shadow play, because this little fender thing should throw a bit of a shadow onto our tire. So you can feather it maybe up to 1 and then come in with the brush. You can also make sure, even before you feather, that the selection is actually nice and straight. And then you go back to your brush, just take the nice dark color, do something like that. If you forgot to feather, a couple of undos and add 1 feather to it. There we go. I think it looks better with a little bit of feather, just because it's shadow, and shadows are rarely super duper sharp. There's a bit of a brighter spot here, and just bring some of that in here. Make sure to touch it gently, and then here in the middle you can press a bit extra. Same on this side, right? Has it? Not really, it doesn't have it on the other side. Okay, so we'll just stick to that side here as well. So I'm going to do a couple of brush strokes and make sure that I apply a bit more pressure in the center. We have blue here reflecting the sky, and we have gray here reflecting the gray concrete. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a bit, I'm going to make everything first of gray, and then I'm going to add a bit of blue on the bottom. You can make your brush a little bit thinner, and then you can take the actual, which the rims are, right, reflective, so they're somewhat white up until a point, and then they turn that grayish color from what we can see from the ground there, but we don't have that ground. But still, it's nice to bring some of that in. If you look at the back, it's the same thing. So we have the nice sort of, well, nice, the white rim. We can fill everything with that, and then we can adjust that. We can bring in some of the grays. And we will the outside here will make white again in a second, so that won't matter that much. But like this, we have those grays in there. It really gives us that nice shine. Some of the blue here on the bottom, right, from the sky. So that's always when you're drawing rims, you have to think of what it's reflecting, sky and the ground. And the ground here we won't see, but we can make it a bit whiter where it's not necessarily blue. And you can bring some of these in here as well. It gives you an extra little bit of shine. So those were the rims. Now we can tackle our white here. Again, just steal what you have there. So I'm going to take that. We have a bit of darkness there and there. So I try to translate that. Where's my white? I'm going to draw straight onto this as well. And first, before I do that, let me just drop this white on top of that, because this is a bit grayer white. There we go. And then I can actually play with the highlights as well. So let me take the under color there, which is going to be a little bit there, but mostly here. There. So I mark the areas which are brighter, bit grayer, and then we have the shadow area. Here we're going to do the same. There's a bit of shadow thrown by this fin. Okay, with the technical details, we're not going to spend a lot of time. I'm not going to select. I'm just going to take my hard or medium hard brush. Where are you? A medium hard brush, and I'm just going to take a gray, go a little bit lower, and just paint in the areas that are supposed to be in shadow. Make it a bit darker, just because I know that I don't make these dark enough in general. Underside dark. Actually, everything there can be in shadow. I don't mind doing it. This is a little bit more cel shady, comic book arty, but I am fine with that because there's also a whole bunch of other detail there that will take away from this. We can also come in and add a little bit of highlight, so we just come with a brighter version of that gray, make our brush a little bit smaller. Alright, and then as you can see here was something I forgot, that this wheel has quite a bit of shine there. Like, I know that you can see that there's several shadows for this reference image, which means that they probably had extra lights on this car. But it always looks good if you have a little bit of extra just shine. And because of the texture of the wheel, which is very little, so the less texture, the faster the car goes. At least that's how it works with bikes. I know that in the city bikes you always had much smoother tires, but then you don't have the big ridges. So usually you just have these interesting sort of lines that go across the wheel, and we're going to make some of these just a little bit stronger and emphasize them. Something like that. And you can do this for, of course, all the wheels. Okay, two things that are missing right now that I still need to do, let me turn these off, is the mirrors and the slight windshield, and also inside here we could add some more details. So I am going to do that. So we want to simulate some see-throughness of this, glass actually area. So I picked some colors and we're just going to color in some areas slightly differently. So I took that for the inside there. We can take a lighter one as well and just do this area. And you can also use your brush feathering to leave some areas open. You can play here you can play around a little bit. There's also a lighter version of this blue, or you can go darker blue. So just mix it up, and it's about having fun as well, right? So this can be the lighter blue, darker blue, this area as well. This is actually where the seat ends. So you can suggest that, like, sort of painting in this area. And then we can have sort of like a transitionary blue, something like this. Let's see, was this darker? Yeah, it is darker. So you can just switch to this one, and then this will be the rest of the seating. And you can also like go in it a little bit, just mix them up a bit. And then I'm gonna take the brighter blue. I'm not gonna go for fully the brightest yet, and then we can add a couple of stripes here, maybe some reflection-ish stuff there. And this is, I forgot to lock it. Now we can at least lock it. Now I can do this. It goes like that, and then I pick the brightest here. Okay, so something that is not so nice in my opinion is the background, which we go all the way down. We don't want fully white. You can go for some sort of gray. We can go with this bluish gray that we have there. Something like this, because then our white here pops more as well. So we could do something like that. Let me take away the reference. And that's pretty much it. We're going to add a shadow now, which again, I just try to select the area that our car sort of represents. So I try to mimic this shape onto the ground. What we can do is just drop in a black everywhere. What we can do now is with this layer, we bring down the opacity a little bit, right? And we can also go to adjustments, give it a Gaussian blur, and then we can adjust the level of blur here. We don't want it too sharp, you also don't want it too blurry. You have to find that nice middle ground, something like this. And towards the end, my favorite part, which is adding the top highlights, and this usually go on a layer above our lines. And you can do stuff like we take the brightest white here and we can add, for example, here there would definitely be some sort of little shine highlight. We can bring that down there, bring it the whole way there. Same thing here. Maybe let me take a different brush. Something like that. We would have a little bit of highlight there as well. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions left or parts that you would like to have clarified, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and maybe in a future video we can talk about those as well. But these videos tend to be very long, so I try to pack in as much as I could without it being boring. Last time the video was a bit too long, so I tried to fix that this time around. But yeah, if you liked or didn't like the video, just in general, I would love to read all your comments, so yeah, leave them down below. Check the description down below for useful links and also links on how you can support me. But as always, the most important part is that you folks have a great time, and see you next time. Bye bye.